Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight for our conversation about making Black history with State Representative Cherrish Pryor and myself, Tiera Johnson. I am very excited and feel honored to be having this conversation with Representative Pryor and with you all. Our Lady of the Hour is the State Representative for District 94. I've had the privilege of learning a few things from her, and I couldn't imagine a better person to highlight for Black History Month. Okay, Representative Pryor, want to give you a chance to say a few things before we jump in here?
Oh, I just would like to say hello and thank you all for having me. I appreciate the honor for having me on for Black History Month, and it's great to see you again, Tiera, as well.
All right, first question of the hour. How has the issue of race shaped and or affected your path to politics?
Well, it's shaped my path quite a bit because when I was growing up in Mississippi, my grandmother was really involved in politics and attending rallies, any rally, protest, whatever was going on in her local community. She had us there on election day. She had us at the polling locations, and she was really engaged and involved in trying to get African Americans elected to office, and that was like in the 1970s, late 1970s. And so, growing up also with my grandparents, there was always an acknowledgement that racism existed, even at an educational level, and the disparities in the school that a majority of the Black kids in the community went to, and the schools that the white kids went to. Even within my little local community, we had two buses that went down the road, the dirt road that we lived on, and one bus was for the white kids, one bus was for the Black kids. So, you know, having that experience and my grandmother fighting to try to eliminate and knock down those walls and provide equal education for her kids and grandkids, um, that had a lot of weight on me from a political standpoint.
That's amazing. I always forget it really wasn't that long ago. It really wasn't that long
But
ago.
and that's amazing because people think of the civil rights movement, which is the 1950s and 60s, but I was just like right behind that. My mom and her brothers and sisters, integrating. My grandmother got her kids integrated into a school in Mississippi, which are my aunts and uncles. And then even with me coming along, that some of that racism and segregation still existed. And I'm just 50.
Man, how do you think these experiences motivate you as a legislator?
They keep me motivated because I know that racism still exists, and I want to make sure that the younger people that are out there don't have to and go through some of the challenges that I go through, just as my parents and grandparents wanted to make sure our experiences were better as well. So for me as a legislator, it's important to make sure that the door is open so that other young African Americans can come behind me and have opportunities to do better.
Can you talk a little bit about the barriers that face people of color running for office, as well as things you have faced in your current position?
hmm So, one of the biggest obstacles, well, there are several obstacles. One big obstacle, I think, is raising money, um, because the African Americans, most of us, maybe with the exception of one, have a pretty safe district, and so people are reluctant to give money to our districts because say, "Oh, you live in a safe district," but that that's to me is not a good excuse to not support a candidate that's a good candidate. And so raising money has been a challenge for African American candidates here locally at the state level. Even if you look at some of our candidates that try to run for governor and the financial difficult time that they had just raising money. So raising money is a big issue. And then even from some of the mindsets of individuals thinking that, African Americans can't necessarily win statewide. And that myth is just that, a myth. President Barack Obama won. Um, on the Democrat side, the other guy won, Attorney General on the Republican side. Um, but then you also had the first African American Attorney General in the entire country to win statewide, Pam Carter. She made history. And then we had Dwayne Brown, who was our secretary or clerk of the courts before that became an appointed position. So, I think the mentality sometimes that the African American can't win statewide, or that's a district that, um, an African American can't win because it's not a majority minority district, then that's not true. African Americans can run and win and represent districts that are majority minority and majority as well.
Definitely. I would say from everyone that we've been talking to and interviewing, been changing Indiana a lot. And even from when I was younger, I can see the change happening. It is happening. It might be slow going.
It is slow. It is slow, and I think we're just going to have to keep fighting and going after it little by little, little by little until we make that big leap. Um, and hopefully that time is coming soon. Um, but there's definitely opportunities. There's so many opportunities out there. And I think the other thing, as it relates to minorities in politics, is sometimes getting people excited to run in the recruitment for African Americans as well. That's another challenge too, so making sure we are recruiting and being open about recruiting minorities and not just staying within our bubble or little circle, because oftentimes it's not as diverse as we would like it to be.
That is definitely true. Now, I got a two-parter for you coming.
Okay.
We'll start with the first part. How do you and your position play a role in affecting positive change for Black communities and communities of color?
How do I, in my position, go about
Mhm.
affecting positive change? I think so. From a public policy standpoint, when I'm at the legislature, trying to make sure that when we are having bills, that we're making sure that either if it's a study that we're looking at the impact that it's going to have on the minority community, if it's distribution of funds, making sure that the minority community is getting parts of that, making sure that the programs, particularly our educational programs, are fully funded at the level that they should be funded at. Unfortunately, this year with the budget that we're currently dealing with, I do have some major concerns that some of the African American, not just African American, pretty much all of the minority commissions and boards their budgets were decreased. And that's a problem. It's not like those budgets were millions of dollars. They were just, the amount of money that they get is really insignificant when you look at the overall 35, $36 billion budget, and those programs make up, probably not even $1 million or $2 million. But to cut some of those budgets even in half, that tells me the priority. I mean, your budget is your priority, and so when you cut those budgets, that's a problem. So standing up at the mic, expressing those concerns, as Representative Porter did um, when he was speaking on the budget, and then also in the budget, cutting or moving money away from um, career and trades that kids learn in high school, like barber and buttering and culinary programs and radio and TV production programs, in which particularly in the urban community, a significant number of African Americans and minorities, Hispanics, take those courses. So stating in making people aware that you're cutting off almost in some ways the lifeblood of some of these young kids who can immediately go into business for themselves, making money once they graduate from high school. Or, like when I was in college, there were a lot of particularly boys that cut hair to make ends meet. They made money off of that. And so it's really cutting the lifeblood away from a lot of the career opportunities that our minorities have. And so for me, in my position, I can make sure that I try to fight to keep those programs funded.
And that is why I appreciate you, because I have read that history and know that you will do what you have to do to fight for us. And that is why I'm like so honored. But the second part of that question, how can Black elected officials continue to take back the narrative of what it means to be Black in office?
So state that again.
So how can Black elected officials continue to take back the narrative of what it means to be Black in office? And kind of when I see that, I have seen a few comments, I guess I should say, of people saying the boos that you guys received the other evening weren't necessarily racist at all. And I do feel like the narrative of what it means to be Black sometimes does get removed from us. So I do really important question. How can we take that back?
You know what? I think by not letting it go. There are going to be individuals who who say we don't have racism, we have reverse racism, and racism doesn't exist. And we have to deal with those individuals at the state house, and actually just in life, because some people have gotten so comfortable with their emboldenedness, and what they feel is their right. And so for us as African American legislators, the one thing, and as a Black caucus, we continue to, and we're going to continue to talk about and call out bills and actions that are racist and that does cause harm and hurt to our community. So, it's not letting it go. And not letting it go means not letting up on stating what is true and what we know to be true in our experiences, in our communities, in our neighborhoods, and talking about what we see in our community and neighborhood. And sometimes, it's not even that the person is a racist or is discriminatory. Sometimes the unintended consequences of the bill or the legislation or the policy has racist uh, undercurrents that will negatively affect minority communities. And so people need to have an open mind to receiving the fact that we know our communities and we live in our communities, and we know and understand that is going to cause a problem for this particular segment. And it's just like, even it could be a policy where all these group of men are deciding on an issue for women. Well, you know what? If you don't include women, guess what? You're probably going to mess it up. You're probably going to get it wrong because you don't know and you don't understand what women go through. And so making sure we're a part of that discussion as women, and making sure we're a part of every discussion as minorities is key to that.
Awesome. Now, next and last question of the evening. I've asked you this before, but what advice would you give Black Hoosiers looking to get involved?
My advice would be, and I think I told you this, to be a precinct committee person.
Mm-hmm.
That is the basic level that people can get involved. Become a precinct committee person. And finding campaigns that that you want to volunteer on, and working with those individuals and volunteering. Um, and and if you're interested in running, people are interested in running for office, find out what's open and available, and do research, and talk to the person who's currently holding that office. If they're in, I would say I wouldn't want Democrats running against Democrats, uh, but find out what's open and available, and don't be afraid to run. um, you may not win the first time. President Obama, well, Bill Clinton didn't win the first time. I think the first couple of times that he ran for office. So it's going to take it. You have to take a leap sometimes, but it's worth it and it's rewarding. You know.
Is running for office as hard as it sounds?
It absolutely can be. Um, my district is a safer district in the general election. Not as safe. Well, nothing is safe in the primary because you're running against a person of your same political party. But for the general, my race, my seat is somewhat safer. But I have ran when I was on the council. I had a very difficult council primary. There were two other people that ran against me, so there were three people in that race, and I worked hard. I walked probably 4 or 5 times a week. And I walked in the rain. I walked in the snow. Um, it didn't matter. I remember the gentleman that was walking with me. We would always meet at the Starbucks at 56th and Lafayette Road. And this particular day, I was there. I was ready. He came there and he was like, "Well, Cherish, I don't think that we need to be walking today." And there was raining, it was thundering, and it was lightning. I was like, "Oh no, we need to go ahead and walk."
Determination.
He's like, "Cherish, you know what? We're not walking today. We are not going to walk today. We cannot walk." But you have to, if when you're in the thick of it, and when you have a contested primary, a race or a general race, I mean, your energy, you just get energy. I mean, I don't know where I got the energy from, because I would walk for 3 or 4 hours or whatever after I got off work. And then when I got home, I was getting stuff prepared for the next day. And then after I got my stuff prepared for the next day, then I would go to bed, go to work, and walk consistent every day. My Saturdays, we walked earlier in the morning on Saturdays, and after Saturday, my Saturday routine was to leave wherever I was from walking, and go to Dairy Queen and get some chocolate ice cream. That was my treat for the week. And I did that every single week. But I was just excited just to get that little relief of chocolate ice cream. So it's not easy. It's not. And when you're in those close primary races, it's not easy, and you're always on the go. If you really want it and you really want to win, you know, it takes time. It takes time, and it takes a lot of work.
That's good to know, because I mean, I know we've talked about it before, and I keep thinking about it, and I keep going back and forth, and I always want to ask more and know more, because that part is so interesting. Because we do need to diversify some more and get more all of us in there, all the minorities. So
It,
that is really awesome.
it is. You have a family, it's important to, I'm not married and I don't have any kids, but when you are married and you have kids, it's important, to also make time for your family as well when you're in there. And I know that your family came out and walked with me. So they're very supportive. So, so you got it made. You kind of got it made.
Well, thank you. I wish they could hear that, even though they would probably be screaming around here right about now. But thank you. I do love them, and they love you too, because they remember. They still talk about when you had your little event. Are we gonna go back to that park and get some more food from the lady? I'm like, Representative Pryor, babies, Representative
I
Pryor.
know, and I was trying to give them all that food to take home, and you was like, no, 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 take all these sweets, just take them.
They were
They don't
wondering
need
about
all
going
this.
back.
No, they get one treat. It's like, oh, they can take it for later. They can have it later.
Oh man, that was a lot of fun though. I like I said, I've learned so much from you. It is always great when I get to speak with you. Thank you, Representative Pryor, for all your wonderful insight this evening.
You're welcome. I'm just glad to be able to participate and, to be on here. Um, you know, it's been an honor to serve. It's been an honor to serve, in the House, to be the highest elected African American in the House of Representatives, being the minority leader. So that's also something that I'm proud of as well, you know. So small steps, and then we get to that big leap.
Almost there. Almost there. So
Almost.
close.
We just got to get some more House members to be Democrats. So we got to pick up some seats. We got to pick up some seats.
It is coming. It's coming. I do want to give a big thank you to everyone who joined us, both now and in the future. Happy Black History Month to you all, and please remember to never stop learning.
Absolutely. Thank you. You all have a great week.